I never thought my own blood would forge the noose that hung me, but there I was, staring down the barrel of expulsion from Johns Hopkins, all because my family decided I was the family liability they needed to bury. The email from the dean had come at 2 a.m., a sterile bullet to the gut. Immediate suspension pending psychiatric evaluation. I'd laughed at first. Manic, they called it. Until I remembered the whispers at Thanksgiving, my mother's sidelong glances, my brother's smirk over the turkey like he was already toasting my downfall. By dawn, I was driving through the Baltimore fog, knuckles white on the wheel of my beat-up Honda, vowing that if they wanted a monster, I'd give them one straight out of their nightmares. What they didn't know, what no one knew, was that I'd been carrying their sins on my back since I was 16, the night Dad's business trip ended with a girl's body in the Chesapeake Bay, and I was the one who lied to the cops to keep our golden family facade intact. Mom had begged me, tears streaming. "Amelia, you're the smart one. Fix this for us." And I did, because that's what daughters do in families like ours. Richmond old money, where scandals are swept under Persian rugs and daughters are disposable shields.
But now?
Now it was payback time, and I'd make sure every skeleton clawed its way out clawing for their throats first. The dean's office smelled like old books and regret when I burst in that afternoon, my scrubs still wrinkled from an all-nighter in the ER rotation. Dr. Harlan Whitaker, silver fox with a mustache that screamed Ivy League, looked up from his desk, his wire-rimmed glasses slipping down his nose. He was the kind of man who'd seen it all. Overdoses in the dorms, affairs in the faculty lounge, the occasional mercy killing hushed up with alumni donations. But today, his face was a mask of something darker, like he'd bitten into a lemon rind coated in arsenic. "Miss Hargrove," he said, voice gravelly from too many years of chain-smoking in the parking garage, "sit down. This isn't what you think." I didn't sit. I planted my feet like roots in concrete, arms crossed over the stethoscope dangling from my neck like a noose of my own making. If this is about the concern report from my family, save it. They're full of shit. I've got straight A's. I'm top of my class in diagnostics. He held up a hand, thick as a catcher's mitt, and slid the folder across the desk. It was stamped confidential in red ink that bled like an accusation. "Your family's report? That's the tip of the iceberg, Amelia. Read this." I snatched it, flipping it open with fingers that trembled despite my rage. Pages of transcripts, emails, police reports from nearly a decade ago. My breath hitched as I scanned the top sheet. Hargrove Family Trust Amendment. Beneficiary revocation. Amelia Grace Hargrove, effective immediately upon completion of medical degree. What the hell? I'd known about the trust. Grandpa's tobacco fortune funneled through generations of lawyers to keep us in McMansions and Mercedes. But revocation? For what? Deeper in, the real gut punch. A deposition from my brother, Ethan, dated last week. Amelia's always been volatile. The stress of med school is breaking her. We've seen the signs: erratic behavior, isolation. For her safety and the family's, she needs intervention. Volatile? Me? The girl who'd aced the MCAT on her third try after Dad's accident left me raising Mom through her pill haze? But it was the attached police file that stopped my heart. A cold case reopening notice for suspected homicide. Cassandra Wells, 17, recovered from Patuxent River, 2014. Cassie. The name hit like a freight train. She wasn't just some girl. She was the nanny, the summer hire from the wrong side of the tracks who'd caught Dad's eye at our lake house. I'd found them that night, tangled in the boathouse, her whispers turning to screams when he wouldn't take no for an answer. I'd pulled her out into the water myself, holding her under just long enough to make it look like a drunken mishap for the family I'd told myself, 16 and terrified of losing everything. Except now, the file said foul play suspected, and there was Ethan's signature on a witness statement. I saw Amelia arguing with Cassie that night. She was jealous, unhinged. Liar. Ethan had been passed out drunk on the dock, oblivious. But he'd sell me out now? For what? The trust. The family law firm he'd inherit? Dr. Whitaker cleared his throat, pulling me back. Your brother filed this with campus security yesterday. But here's the shocking part, Amelia. I pulled strings. Went to the alumni board. Turns out your father's been whispering in ears. Donations drying up unless they handle you quietly. But I found something else. He tapped a highlighted line in the folder. DNA match pending. Anonymous tip implicating Edward Hargrove Sr. in Wells assault. My knees buckled then, and I sank into the leather chair that creaked like a confession.
Dad.
Not just a drunken fumble, but assault. And Ethan knew. They'd pinned it on me to protect him, to keep the Hargrove name spotless while I toiled through undergrad on scholarships, clawing my way into med school on grit and guilt. Why tell me? I whispered, voice raw as the harbor wind. Because, Whitaker said, leaning forward with eyes like storm clouds, you're not unstable, Miss Hargrove. You're the only stable thing in that viper's nest. And if you want back in this program, in your life, you're going to need to fight dirty. I've got your back, but only if you burn them first. I left that office with the folder clutched to my chest like a grenade, the rain pounding the windshield as I merged onto I-95 south toward Richmond. 3 hours of blacktop blurred by taillights and rage, my mind spinning webs of vengeance that would make Machiavelli blush. Ethan, the golden boy, 28 and already junior partner at Hargrove and Associates, lawyering for the elite while I patched up their overdoses. Mom, the pill-popping socialite, hosting garden parties where the gin flowed freer than the truth. And Dad, Edward Hargrove Sr., the silver-tongued real estate kingpin whose deals masked a trail of broken lives. By the time I pulled into the driveway of our colonial monstrosity on Monument Avenue, white columns gleaming under gas lamps like false teeth, I'd mapped it out. Step 1. Infiltrate. Play the broken daughter. Let them gloat. Step 2. Unearth the bones. I'd start with Cassie's family. If the DNA tip was real, they'd talk to me. Step 3. The kill shot. Not literal, God, no, but something that would strip them bare, leave them twisting in the wind of their own lies. The front door swung open before I could knock, Mom in her silk robe, martini glass sweating in her manicured hand. Amelia. Darling, we were so worried. Ethan said. Save it, Mother. I brushed past her into the foyer, the crystal chandelier tinkling like wind chimes in a hurricane. Ethan lounged on the staircase, tie loosened, a tumbler of scotch dangling from his fingers. His smile was all teeth, the kind sharks flash before the chum. Sis, he drawled, Virginia drawl thick as molasses. Heard about Hopkins. Tough break. But hey, maybe community college? You always were better with band-aids than scalpels. Dad emerged from the study then, cigar smoke trailing him like a guilty shadow. Tall, broad-shouldered at 60, with the patrician nose that screamed Mayflower descendants. Amelia, let's talk in my office. Family meeting. I followed, the folder burning a hole in my bag. The study was a shrine to Hargrove power, mahogany walls lined with law tomes, a globe bar stocked with single malt, photos of us all, smiling, perfect, on the mantel. I dropped into the leather armchair opposite his desk, the one I'd sat in as a kid begging for story time. He steepled his fingers, eyes cold as the Potomac in January. We did this for you, Peanut. Med school's no place for fragility. After what happened with that girl. Cassie. I spat, the name a bullet. Her name was Cassie Wells. And I didn't kill her, Dad. You did. The room went still, the only sound the tick of the grandfather clock marking seconds until implosion. Mom gasped from the doorway, hand fluttering to her pearls. Ethan choked on his scotch, coughing like he'd swallowed glass. Dad's face didn't crack, but his eyes, oh, they flickered, a tell I'd learned dissecting cadavers. What are you on about, girl? That was an accident. Tragic, but... I yanked the folder out, slamming it on the desk. Pages fanned like a bad hand in poker. DNA tipped to the cops. Reopening the case. And Ethan's little deposition? Calling me unhinged? You think I wouldn't find out? Ethan lunged forward, face purple. You crazy bitch, that's... Enough, Dad barked, voice booming like thunder over the James River. He snatched the folder, scanning it with the speed of a man who'd buried bodies before breakfast. Then, slowly, He set it down, composing himself like a conductor before the orchestra. Amelia, listen. It was a mistake.
Cassie.
She came on to me. Things got heated. You helped because you loved us. But if this goes public, it already has. I lied, voice steady as a surgeon's scalpel. The truth? I'd texted Whitaker from the car. He'd promised to leak it anonymously to the Baltimore Sun by morning. But they didn't need to know that yet. Unless you give me my spot back in the trust. And med school. And a public apology from all of you. Right here in this house. Mom whimpered, sinking onto the sofa. We can't, darling. The scandal, our friends, the club. Screw your friends, I snarled, the words tasting like freedom. You screwed me for a decade. Carried your guilt like a tumor. Now it's your turn. Ethan recovered, slinking closer with that lawyer's glide. Or what? You'll run to the press? With what proof? That folder's circumstantial. And you're the one who held her down, remember? Accomplice makes you as guilty as him. He had me there, a sliver of truth in the venom. I'd take the fall again if pushed. Years in some Virginia women's prison, trading scrubs for stripes. But I wasn't 16 anymore. I was Amelia Hargrove, med student turned Avenger, and I'd studied enough anatomy to know exactly where to cut without killing. Fine, I said, standing, the room's air thick as the humidity before a storm. War it is. But remember, boys, and you too, Mom, I know where all the bodies are buried. And I'm done being the shovel. I stormed out, the door slamming like a guillotine. In my old room upstairs, still papered in faded florals, bed made like a museum piece, I booted up the ancient Dell I'd left behind. First search, Cassandra Wells' obituary. Then, her family's address in Dundalk. By midnight, I was booking a red-eye to BWI, a plan crystallizing. Find Cassie's mom, get the real story, weaponize it. But as I packed a go bag, jeans, hoodie, the folder, doubt wormed in. Was this revenge, or just trading one cage for another? Dad's eyes had pleaded at the end, a crack in the armor. What if he was sorry? What if Ethan was right, and I was the fragile one?
Screw that.
Fragile girls don't survive drowning someone to save a family of snakes. I zipped the bag, flicked off the light, and slipped into the night, the gravel crunching under my tires like bones underfoot. Richmond faded in the rearview, but the Real chase was just starting, the one where I hunted my own ghosts and prayed they didn't hunt me back first. The Greyhound from Baltimore to Dundalk smelled like stale coffee and desperation, the kind that clings to folks riding the rails between dead-end jobs and darker secrets. I wedged into a window seat, the folder my only companion, as the bus lurched through the pre-dawn gloom. Outside, the Patuxent River glittered like fool's gold under sodium lamps, mocking me with memories of that night. Cassie's gasps bubbling up like accusations, my hands slick with more than water. I told myself it was mercy, ending her struggle quick. But whose mercy? Hers or the family's? By 6 a.m., I was knocking on a sagging duplex door in a neighborhood where chain-link fences guarded nothing worth stealing. Mrs. Wells, Lorraine, the obit said, answered in a housecoat, her face a roadmap of grief lines and unfiltered camels. She was 60-something, wiry as a dock worker, eyes sharp despite the squint. You Cassie's mom? I asked, voice low, the folder tucked under my arm like contraband. She eyed me up and down, jeans, ponytail, no makeup, like sizing up a bill collector. Who wants to know? Reporters? Cops? I told him all 10 years ago. My girl didn't drown herself. I swallowed, throat dry as the dunes. Amelia Hargrove. From the lake house summer. I was there that night. Her hand shot out, grabbing my wrist with surprising steel.
You.
The rich bitch's daughter. The one who lied to the police. She yanked me inside, the door banging shut like a trap. The living room was a shrine to Cassie. From photos, a cheerleading pom-pom yellowed with age, a vigil candle flickering on the TV tray. No husband in sight, probably long gone, like so many in these parts. Sit, she ordered, shoving me onto a vinyl couch that stuck to my thighs. She lit a smoke, exhaling a dragon's breath.
Why now?
Guilt catch up? Or you finally growing a spine? Both, I admitted, opening the folder, sliding the police reopening notice across the coffee table scarred with fear rings. This came yesterday. DNA tip pointing to my father. I need the truth, Mrs. Wells. All of it. So I can make them pay. She scanned the page, lips pursing around the filter. Then, slow as molasses, she nodded. Call me Lorraine. And yeah, I'll talk. For Cassie. But it ain't pretty, girl. Your daddy didn't just get heated. He raped her. She told me everything that July. Bruises on her thighs. Threats if she squealed. Mr. Hargrove says it'll ruin the family, she sobbed. I told her to quit, but bills don't pay themselves. Nannying for you rich folk was her ticket out. My stomach twisted, ball rising like the river tide. Rape. Not assault, not a mistake. I'd sanitized it in my head for a decade, but Lorraine's words stripped it raw. She came to me that night, she continued, voice cracking like thin ice. Screaming in the boathouse. I wasn't there, working doubles at the cannery, but she called my cell. Mom, he's hurting me. Line went dead. Next morning, state troopers at my door. Tragic accident. Bullshit. And you testified she was drunk, fighting with some boy. Protected your own. I was 16, I whispered, shame hot as a brand. They made me, said it'd destroy us all. Lorraine stubbed out her cigarette, eyes hardening to flint. Destroyed her, you mean? But here's the kicker, Amelia. Cassie wasn't just the nanny. She was pregnant. 3 months. Yours or your brother's, she wouldn't say. DNA would have shown, but the river took care of that. The world tilted, the room spinning like a bad hangover. Pregnant. With a Hargrove? Ethan had been sniffing around Cassie that summer, all cocky grins and stolen beers. Or me. No, I'd been buried in books, awkward and invisible. But the implication hung heavy, a bastard sibling, drowned before drawing breath. Why didn't you push harder? I asked, hating the defensiveness in my tone. She laughed, bitter as black coffee. Push. Against Edward Hargrove? Man owns half the Eastern Shore. His lawyers buried me in paperwork, NDAs, hush money. I was too broke to refuse. 20 grand to sign, and shut up. Kept me afloat till the cancer took my savings. She tapped her chest, where a surgical scar peeked from her collar.
But now?
With this reopening?
I'll testify.
Swear on a stack of Bibles. Just promise me. No mercy for those sons of bitches. We talked for hours, Lorraine spilling details I'd blocked out. Cassie's dreams of nursing school, her laugh like summer fireflies, the locket I'd seen around her neck, engraved with YH, initials that could be anyone. By noon, I had her sworn statement scrawled on notebook paper and a plan sharpening like a shiv. Back on the bus to Baltimore, I texted Whitaker. Got the ammo. Leak it tonight. Then, a burner app for anonymous posts to the Richmond Times-Dispatch forum. Hargrove family secrets. Rape cover-up at Lake House? The explosion hit by evening. My phone, new prepaid, ditched the old, buzzed with alerts. Front page teaser. Cold case cracks. Prominent developer implicated in teen death. Ethan's texts flooded the old line I'd left active as bait. You fucking psycho. Call off the dogs. Mom's voicemails, sobs. Please come home. Darling, we can fix this. Dad? Silence, the coward's roar. I holed up in a Motel 6 off the Beltway, the kind with vibrating walls and roaches the size of quarters. Pacing the threadbare carpet, I plotted the next strike. Infiltrate the family gala tomorrow night. Hargrove Foundation's annual black tie bash at the Jefferson Hotel, where Richmond's elite preened like peacocks oblivious to the fox in the henhouse. I'd go as the prodigal daughter, dosed with just enough feigned remorse to slip past security. There, in front of the governor and the society pages, I dropped the bomb. Lorraine's statement, projected on the ballroom screen via a hacked AV system. Ethan would squirm, Mom would faint dramatically, Dad would bluster. Revenge surdiced, with a side of public evisceration. But as neon flickered through the blinds, doubt crept in again. colder than the AC unit's hum. What about the baby? If it was Ethan's, was I avenging Cassie or orphaning a ghost? And me, accomplice, enabler, what did that make my hands clean? The forum comments rolled in. Hargrove scum, lock 'em up. Versus girls like Cassie lie for money. Sad accident. Polarizing already, just like I wanted. No heroes here, only shades of gray smeared with blood money. Sleep came fitful, dreams of the river pulling me under, Cassie's face morphing into mine. Dawn broke with a knock, housekeeping or worse. I peered through the peephole, empty hall. Paranoia or prelude. Grabbing my bag, I hit the road south, the Jefferson's marble facade looming like a tombstone by dusk. The gala was a circus of excess, crystal flutes clinking, gowns rustling like whispers, string quartets sawing Vivaldi over the din of backslaps and air kisses. I slipped in through the service entrance. Caterer's uniform borrowed from a desperate dishwasher for $50, makeup masking the shadows under my eyes, hair piled in an updo that screamed old money. Ethan spotted me first, across the chandelier-lit ballroom, his tux straining at the seams from too many client lunches. He weaved through the crowd, face a thundercloud. "What the hell are you doing here?" "After what you pulled." Dad's lawyered up, the boards circling like vultures. "Good," I hissed, snagging a champagne flute from a passing tray to steady my nerves. "Let them circle. Tonight, the whole city's getting a front-row seat to the Hargrove Circus." He grabbed my arm, nails digging crescents. "You think you're the victim? That folder, it's fake. Dad's PI traced it to some hack in Baltimore. And Cassie? Slut chased the family silver. You held her down, Amelia. You're as dirty as us." The words landed like hooks, reeling me back to that boathouse reek of algae and fear.
Dirty.
Yeah, I was. But so were they, and I dragged them into the light, kicking and screaming. "Watch the show, brother dear," I said, wrenching free. Curtains up. Slipping into the AV booth, unlocked, the tech drunk on free booze, I jacked in my thumb drive. Lorraine's statement glowed on the monitor. Timelines, bruises documented in Polaroid sheet hidden, the pregnancy test from a clinic in Annapolis. One click, and it beamed to the massive screen behind the podium, where Dad was mid-speech, droning about, preserving Virginia heritage. The image froze him mid-gesture, the crowd's murmur swelling to a roar. Edward Hargrove Sr., alleged rapist in reopened teen homicide. Gasps rippled like dominoes. A dowager in pearls clutched her throat. Mom, in sapphire silk, swayed toward the floor, caught by a waiter. Ethan lunged for the booth, but I was already out, weaving through the chaos toward the exit. Dad's voice boomed over the mic, distorted. Lies. Slander from a grieving mother and a deranged daughter. But the damage was done. Phones out, videos viral, the elite fracturing into camps, loyalists hissing cover-up, progressives baying for blood. I burst into the alley behind the hotel, rain slicking the cobblestones, chest heaving. Victory tasted like ash. Sirens wailed distant. Cops? Press? Footsteps pounded. Ethan, barreling out the door, face twisted in fury. "You bitch," he snarled, tackling me against the brick wall, forearm to my throat. "You just torched everything. The firm, the trust gone. Dad's having a stroke inside." I gasped, stars bursting, knee driving up into his groin. He doubled, and I shoved free, scrambling for my bag where the folder spilled like guts. Good. Let him choke on it. But as I ran, slipping in the downpour toward my rental car, a twist knifed deep, my phone buzzed, unknown number. A voice message, Lorraine's. "Amelia, stop. I lied about the baby. It was to hurt you more. But Cassie left a letter. For you. Says she forgave you. Blames herself for staying silent. Forgave me?" The word shattered something inside, rain mingling with tears as I floored the accelerator, headlights cutting the storm. Vengeance tasted sweet, but forgiveness? That was the real poison, forcing me to question if I'd just avenged a lie, or damned us all. The drive back to Richmond was a blur of wipers slapping rain and radio static crackling with updates. Hargrove scandal rocks old Dominion elite. Arrest imminent. I ditched the rental at a strip mall, Ubering to a dive bar off Broad Street where the jukebox played Springsteen anthems for the damned. Nursing a whiskey neat, burned smooth as regret, I scrolled the fallout. Twitter, X, whatever, ablaze. Hargrove held trending, memes of dad as a cartoon snake shedding skin. Supporters decried, witch hunt by liberal media, while victims' advocates screamed justice overdue. Polarized perfection, readers picking sides like battle lines in a civil war no one wins. Lorraine's message looped in my head, a dirge. Forgiven? Cassie, the girl I'd silenced, absolving me? It flipped the script, made my revenge feel like a tantrum in a graveyard. But stopping now? That'd make me the fool, handing them the narrative. Unstable Amelia, cracking under pressure.
No.
I'd see it through, to the river's edge if needed. Dawn found me at the old lake house, 2 hours east on Route 360, the place Dad deeded to the kids last Christmas, a poisoned chalice. Key under the mat still worked. Inside, dust motes danced in sunbeams slanting through pine boughs. The boathouse loomed out back, weathered gray, door ajar like an invitation to hell. I stepped in, the air thick with mildew and ghosts, floorboards creaking underfoot. There, in the corner where the shadows pooled deepest, was the locket, tarnished silver, chain snapped, initials each glinting accusatory. Cassie must have dropped it in the struggle, washed clean by tides until now. I pried it open, a tiny photo, folded. Me and her, arms linked at a bonfire, grins wide as the bay. Behind it, a note in her loopy script. Amelia, tell them the truth someday. You're not like them. Love, C. Tears came hot unbidden, soaking the paper. Not like them? I'd been their echo, lying, covering, until the echo screamed back. Pocketing it, I headed inside, rifling drawers for Dad's insurance files, the blackmail stash he'd bragged about in boozy rants. Jackpot, a safe behind the liquor cabinet, combination his wedding date. Inside, ledgers yellowed with age, payoffs to mistresses, bribed officials, even a wire transfer to Lorraine, dated post-Cassie, with a sticky note, final. No more. And there, buried under tax forms, a paternity test, sealed unopened. Ethan Hargrove versus unknown. My hands shook as I tore it free. Results: 99.9% match. The baby was his. Brother dearest, siring a child with the girl he and Dad both preyed on, then letting her drown to bury the shame. Ethan, not just enabler, co-conspirator. Rage reignited, a bonfire to my doubt. I snapped photos, emailed them to Whitaker and a Sun reporter I'd cold-called at the bar. Then, the final play. Summon them here. A group text from a burner, Lake House.
Now.
Or the test goes public too. They arrived by noon, convoy of SUVs kicking gravel like accusations. Dad first, pale as parchment, arm in a sling from the stress. Mom trailing, eyes puffy, clutching a rosary like it'd ward off Armageddon. Ethan last, jaw set, eyes darting like a cornered fox. We convened in the living room, French doors open to the bay breeze carrying salt and sin. You win, Amelia, Dad said, sinking into a wicker chair that groaned protest. Voice wheezy, defeated. The firm's folding. Trusts revoked. All of it. Cops picked me up this morning, released on bail, but the trial. He trailed off, rubbing temples. What do you want? Money? A confession on tape? Justice, I said, tossing the paternity test onto the coffee table. It landed with a soft thud, heavier than lead. For Cassie. For her baby, your niece or nephew, Ethan. You knew, didn't you? That's why the lies, the expulsion push. Not just Dad's mess, yours too. Ethan's face drained to ash, snatching the envelope.
This.
Impossible. I used protection. Liar, Mom whispered, crossing herself. Ethan, tell me you didn't. He crumpled, shoulders hunching. It was a mistake. She trapped me, said she was on the pill. Then Dad found out, panicked. The boathouse.
It was supposed to be a talk, not.
He buried his face, sobs racking him. I watched, Amy. Hid in the reeds. Saw you hold her. Thought it was drowning her secrets with her. The room spun, betrayal layering like sedimentary rock.
Watched?
My brother, spectator to fratricide? I lunged, slapping him hard, the crack echoing like gunfire. You coward. I did it for you, for all of us. Dad rose then, slow, placing a hand on my shoulder, gentle, paternal, the lie I'd craved.
Peanut, stop. He's right.
We all failed. But ending it here? It'll destroy you too.
Plead out with me.
Family sticks together. His touch burned, but his eyes, pleading, broken, stirred the fracture.
Stick together?
After the noose they'd tied? Yet, seeing Ethan shattered, Mom murmuring prayers, a whisper slithered. What if forgiveness is the real revenge? Let them live with it, rotting inside. The twist hit like a rogue wave, sirens, distant but closing. Not for us, the press, tipped by my email. Lights flashed through the pines, reporters swarming the drive. No escape now. But as chaos erupted, cameras blinding, questions battering, I made the call. Handed the locket to a stunned journalist. For Cassie. Tell her story right. Dad was cuffed first, stoic till the end, mouthing I'm sorry over the fray. Ethan bolted for the dock, but troopers tackled him mid-stride, face down in the shallows. Mom clung to me, wailing, "Don't let them take us." I pried her off, cold as the water I'd once wielded. In the end, it was tragic. Convictions came swift, Dad for manslaughter, Ethan for conspiracy, Mom skating on a plea for accessory. I testified, voice steady, unburying every secret till the courtroom reeked of truth. Hopkins reinstated me, Whitaker's doing, but med school felt hollow, scalpels now symbols of wounds I'd inflicted. Months later, walking the Chesapeake shore, wind whipping, waves lapping like confessions, I scattered Cassie's locket ashes, the photo curling to smoke. Forgiven? Maybe.
Avenged?
Debatably. Readers argued in op-eds. Hero or villain? Enabler turned executioner? I didn't care. The river took what it wanted, and in return, gave me a life unburdened, though scarred, like all good American tragedies. But on quiet nights, when the ghosts whisper, I wonder, if I'd let them win, would I be free? Or is revenge just another drowning, pulling us all under?